Hi everyone, thank you for joining me, the Digital Golf Doc, as I cover the top 5 exercises for preventing lower back pain in golfers. I'm a licensed physical therapist, a certified strength and conditioning coach, as well as a researcher educator. And I spend literally all my time focused on helping golfers, keeping them healthy and maximizing their performance. Over the last several years, I've gotten certified through Titleist Performance Institute, as well as racked up hours upon hours of experience working with golfers everywhere from the amateur level to the professional level and everything in between. So these exercises are honed and they do work. Now, before we cover them, I need you to know something. The details do matter. So pay close attention. And if you have any questions at all, please leave a comment below this video or reach out to me at digitalgolfdoc@gmail.com. Let's not delay any further and start counting down the exercises with number 5. Number 5 on the list is going to be the aldoa hip stretch. Aldoa is a specific method of mobility training, and this happens to be my favorite exercise from that method. Now you have to be a little particular with it, as you're going to start in a V-sit. You're going to use your hands to basically hold yourself as upright as possible. This is key because in aldoa we want to focus on elongating the joints. So we want to feel as if there's a string attached to our head pulling us straight up, and again we can use our hands to assist with that. Then we're going to press our knees down so they are flat against the ground, and your feet should feel almost as if someone is grabbing your foot and pulling it away from your hip joint. So we're aligning the joints first. Next, we're going to tilt the toes back, and I'm going to do this one side at a time. So take a look at my foot on the right. We pull the toes back. We are going to lengthen the posterior side of the leg. That's actually going to mobilize the sciatic nerve and its offshoots. Once we've done that, we're going to feel like we reach with our leg to create that distraction at the hip joint. And while maintaining all of that, we're going to roll our foot out as far as possible, and then we're going to roll it in as far as possible. And we're going to repeat this 10 times with the hip, and again, we want to maintain all those positions. Upright through the trunk, flat through the leg, a force like it's pulling your hip apart, and then while maintaining all of those, we're going to roll out to the right and out to the left. Now, when you do this for the first time, you might see that foot barely budge. That's okay. You need to force it to move a little bit. This is a really safe position because we don't have any load through the hip joint, so we should feel pretty comfortable trying to drive that foot out and drive it in. Now, you're going to feel some kind of squeezing and pinching and tension in the hip, and that's okay as long as it's on the lower intensity side of things. But if you repeat this day after day, you're going to see the hips loosen up. We want to make sure we do this on both sides to address both of the hips. We're going to do 10 repetitions each way. And again, our focus is on high quality movement, forcing it to the end range on either side. The last thing we want to do is get lazy, have our posture fall apart, and roll back and forth like this, because we're just not going to get the benefit. We're completely crushing what the aldoa method is out and ruining the exercise itself. So dial in the specifics, hit the aldoa method, hip roll, and it will improve your hip mobility for golf. Exercise 4 is going to be a motion called thread the needle. We're going to use the foam roller to assist this motion because it really takes this stretch from a good mobility exercise to a great one. So grab your foam roller first. You're going to make your way down to both knees. You'll set the foam roller out in front of you, and you're going to bring your hands down. So it's important here that we have the foam roller on the outside of what's going to end up being our support arm. So this is that initial setup position. I want to rock the hips back. The reason we rock the hips back is it's going to lock the lumbar spine, which is going to allow us to focus the movement to the thoracic spine, that upper back area that's so critical for getting a good shoulder turn in the golf swing. Once we've done that, we are going to take one arm and we're going to set it on the foam roller. Then we're going to use that foam roller to support our arm as we roll out to the side, like I'm trying to take my chest and face it over toward that wall. And then we roll back up. Roll through like we're trying to face our chest at the other wall, and come back up. The support arm does not need to stay perfectly straight, but you do want it to support your weight as you rotate through. We will, of course, then set that up on the other side and complete the same movement. And you should really feel this stretch either in your thoracic spine, that mid area of your upper back, or this back side of your shoulder here is another great spot to really get a good bit of intensity through this mobility exercise. Again, we're going to do 10 repetitions on this on each side. For every single repetition, we're going to key in, focus, making sure we're maintaining all of our form cues so that we get the stretch where we want it and how we want it, because that's your best chance to make big improvements quickly. Exercise number 3 might be familiar to a whole lot of you. It's called the cat-cow movement, but we're going to spice it up a little bit by adding some banded resistance, which is not only going to serve as a resistance to the movement, but it's going to be a great proprioceptive input to allow us to really fire up those hip stabilizers as we drive the movement between anterior and posterior pelvic tilt. So for this, you're going to want a band, a little bit of a longer one. Circular works best, but you can make a flat band work as well. We're going to be on our hands and knees again, and we're going to take that band, we're going to run it across our low back. Now, whether it's a little bit closer to the pelvis or a little bit higher up, either one of those is okay, as long as it stays below that low angle of your rib cage. We're going to hook our thumbs into the band and put some tension in it. Then we're going to go into that hands and knee position. We're going to allow the band to pull us down, allowing us to arch our lower back and our lumbar spine. And then we're going to push the band away, letting us round in that lower spine, as well as through the rest of the upper back too. We're going to drop down. We hollow everything out. You can intensify this by taking a look up toward the ceiling. And then you'll press the other way, round down, and take a look between your legs. We're going to arch, and then we're going to round. We're going to move slow and smooth through that position. For a higher repetition, just because pelvic control tends to respond better to the higher repetitions, I would say at least 15 repetitions. 20 would be ideal. They're only going to take you a few seconds at a time, so you'll still get through them pretty quick, but it's going to add an immense amount of pelvic control, which is awesome for your posture, your lower back health, and of course the reason you're all here, for your golf swing. Number 2 on our countdown through these 5 is going to be a prone press up combined with a cobra pose. So cat-cow, the last movement, drove us through a full range of lumbar spine movement, and this time we're really going to focus on that extension piece. We spend so much time throughout the day in this rounded back posture that truly extending through the spine and opening up is very valuable in maintaining our mobility and maintaining the health of our spine in general. So we're going to make our way all the way down onto our stomach. And you're going to have the tops of your feet on the ground, legs zipped together, and you'll put your hands about even with your chest. The first thing we're going to do is press through the hands until the chest peels away from the ground, and you're going to drive yourself up just as far as comfortable. Especially that first repetition, we don't need to force ourselves into any movement our body's not ready for. We can just push on that beginning end range of stiffness. It'll loosen up, and then we can go further. And you're going to repeat this movement 8 to 10 times. Again, I prefer 10, but if you're short on time, 8 will do just fine. And after we've done 8, we're now going to hover our hands off the ground. You can lift them where they're at, or you can bring them out here if your shoulder mobility is not great. And we're going to have the cobra piece of the movement, where we peel our chest away from the ground. We use the muscles in our lower back to get there, and then we'll lower back down. And we'll lift up, and we'll lower back down. We're simply going to repeat 5 repetitions of that. If you want to add a second or 2 hold to each repetition, that's fantastic. You may notice some tightness here. If people have not directly worked their lower back in a long time, which in my opinion is a massive mistake, unless you want to end up with back pain, you're going to get some tightness those first few days you do it. It'll get looser, it'll get stronger, and eventually you're going to feel better than ever. So that prone press up, again, it's going to force us into one of those positions that we aren't in throughout the day. And just like the old adage goes, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So we need to use that lumbar and thoracic extension. Number one on our list, and may I add, by a long shot, when it comes to preventing lower back pain in golfers, and really a ton of other sports too, is pretzel breathing. It combines several different movements. We use our breath to help control our body, and it touches on just about anything that's going to limit the movement of your spine, which is why it is far and away the number one exercise. I first knew this exercise was really important because I taught it to someone with back pain one day. And over the next few weeks, I saw a bunch of people at this gym doing the same exercise, people I'd never met before. So I asked around a little bit, and lo and behold, the person got so much benefit out of this exercise, they told a few of their friends who told a few of their friends. And before you know it, I had this exercise getting done by people that I had never come in contact with. So it really does live up to the hype as the number one best exercise for lower back pain. And you're going to set up in what we call a 90-90 position for your hips. So this front hip is going to be facing directly forward, and you have a 90-degree angle in your knee. This back hip is going to be facing directly out to the side with a 90-degree angle at the knee. A lot of you are going to get in this position, you're going to feel stuck here. This is exactly where I started when I did not have good mobility, and now I can maintain this without any extra assistance. So if you can get here, no hand support, awesome, do it. If you can't, set a hand here, wiggle it as far up as you can. What you'll notice is a lot of tension in this hip in this position. You might even feel a crampy, pinchy position in this hip or in the obliques here. That'll go away the more you get used to it. So just find something that you feel a little bit of tension, but can maintain the position, and it'll get better with each passing day. You're going to get that chest nice and upright, posture tall, and we are going to take 5 deep breaths. And with each passing breath, you should feel everything relax just a little bit further. After 5 breaths there, we're going to turn over that front leg, drop our forearms to the ground. Some of you might be stuck here. You can even put a yoga block under your forearm if you want. And we're going to have 5 deep breaths again. The optional third part of this movement, if you're flexible enough, and I encourage you to get there, even if it takes you 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, is to then be able to drop into a reach position. Drive the chest toward the ground, let that other shoulder come around, and again, we will finish with, you guessed it, 5 breaths. And you may notice as you take that breath, that shoulder peels up, and then you exhale, and you compress that shoulder back down. It's okay if you have just a little bit of movement occurring there. That's all part of gaining your mobility. We're going to run that to the next side as well. And we're just going to get into each one of those positions for 5 slow, controlled breaths. Again, control is the key here. That's how you really own the mobility, is controlling your breathing. And we're going to throw that in, hopefully with the other exercises, and complete it daily. That's what I do every single day. No exceptions. I get into the pretzel breathing position. It takes me about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Not a big deal at all. And I'm so much more flexible than when I started because of this exercise. I appreciate every single one of you joining me today. And I cannot emphasize enough the value in these exercises. I am that person who was stiff as a board, couldn't get anywhere near my toes. I broke my back. I was in a back brace for multiple months, about 10 years ago. And when I came out of it, I just could not move. And I tried static stretching, and it didn't get me anywhere. I added dynamic movements, just like the ones I showed you today. And now I can drop down, put my hands on the floor, stand back up, don't break a sweat, didn't even interrupt my voice talking to you, because I've learned the importance of controlled dynamic mobility work. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in this video. Send me an email, digitalgolfdoc@gmail.com. Or if you would love to, come back and just post about your success with these exercises. I always love hearing it. Thanks. Have a great day.